Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra's Lair. I am your host, Larry, the delightful Chupacabra, dimensional, trans-warping Chupacabra man. So, we're gonna be checking out Dimension Drive today, a game by two awesome studios. It's a sort of, trans-dimensional arcade bullet hell type of spaceship shooter that takes us into an intergalactic war, facing against this Ashujul's alien race that likes to fondle people's stuff and take over their planets. So I guess we'll just jump in here. We got a couple modes in this sort of arcadey bullet hell game. We've got the standard arcade mode, and then we've got the modern mode, which will give Larry a fancy shield so that he can have time to think and to talk to you fine folks as he murders things. So this is a pretty standard sort of a bullet hell game. We've got all of these saucy little astral Ashujul's creatures that want to touch our planet and do war with our faces. And we're not quite so keen on that stuff because, you know what, we're people. We like it when our organs stay, you know, inside of our bodies where they belong. I hear that's a good opinion to have. And we've got some, as we fight through here, we get some power-ups that allow us to shoot crazily in multiple directions. And really the whole idea is when one has to fight trans-dimensional beings, it helps if you have a ship that can fly and fight across multiple sectors of space and time and trans-warp dimensions. I mean, it's what the young people are into these days, so you gotta stick with it. You gotta stick with the times and the fads. So that's where our main hero, Jackie, comes in with her AI companion in the ship, and we're in an experimental warp-driving trans-dimensional battleship that allows us to go into multiple dimensions and fend off aliens who are trying to touch us in more than one place at the same time. Pretty rude, don't you think? So that takes us into twin fighting battle grounds to try and stop them. And there will be some sort of crazy interplay therein that you have to worry about. So we'll have to see how they manage that and what they do with it. So it should be kind of interesting. The one thing I can say right off the bat is resource management between the two dimensions appears to be an important thing, because unlike regular bullet hells, where you usually have to be super hyper aware of just stuff around you, but less so your ammunition, this game seems to have an ammo bar there at the top that indicates how much stuff you have left that you can actually shoot, or having to swap to the other dimension for a little while and do some snooty shooting there. So that seems kind of different-y. And it does seem like it's kind of like a recharge, so you gotta spend more time in the alternate dimension before you can keep shooting in the first dimension. So we've unlocked the next level of the modern arcade mode inside of the asteroid belt. Also looks like I've found a graphical tear, but that's alright. What did I just do? Oh, I ran into some asteroids, I guess? But, yeah, I ran into there's some visual tearing going on in the game. Nothing to be concerned with. It happens in a prototype, so we'll just go with it. Yeah, this character reminds me a lot of, I don't know if anyone of you guys ever watched the TV show Megas XLR, where a weird, fat space cadet of a man finds this gigantic robot that's supposed to save humanity in the future, and then turns it into a hot rod, which is rather entertaining to me. And they have to go on crazy adventures to help save the human race and go back in time. Whoops, I guess I hit too many asteroids. Let's just play that first level again. That one I don't have to concentrate so much while I say words. But yeah, so in Megas XLR, there's a woman in the far-flung future who's in a prototype space mech fighting off a similarly antagonistic warlike race to try and save humanity. She gets flung back in time, and then some fat white guy in the past finds the ship and turns it into a hot rod, and then he uses it on crazy adventures, fighting alien, I guess, pawn shop owners and, like, mercenaries, and there's, like, an arena event. It was a great show. I'm disappointed that they kind of canceled it before its time. Just like Big Guy and Rusty was another great show, but I get a lot of that vibe. Minus the fact that we haven't been thrown back in time, and our sidekick isn't like a fat hot rod aficionado, and rather an AI companion who runs the ship, which I'd say is a marked improvement, depending on your opinions of saucy internet neckbeards who are really into spaceships or hot rods. You know, whatever, to each their own. I don't judge out loud, because that gets you murdered in the space and the time. So the other thing that's kind of noteworthy about this game is that Two Awesome Studios, this is actually their second time on Kickstarter. They've definitely made a big splash the first time, but the first time they kind of got trolled off of Kickstarter because one of the people that had pledged to them was used a stolen credit card, so you obviously can't keep that money. That's not your money. And Kickstarter did a little check, and they found it to be fraudulent, so they weren't allowed to keep that money, and they had to redo the whole flippin' thing. Initially, Two Awesome Studio wasn't sure if they really wanted to do that or not. And I think it's cool that they did. Even if it didn't have this weird kind of gimmick where you had to fight across multiple dimensions, I still think this is a cool shooter game. There's a lot of hand-illustrated stuff in the background, which is kind of nice. I've been shot in the face, so I've lost one of my lives. I have to go start a little bit further back. But, aside from all that stuff, this is pretty cool stuff. It's hand-illustrated. It would make a fun bullet hell all on its own. As it stands, we'll have to wait and see how they best want to incorporate the notion of fighting across dimensions. They've kind of shown that there will be a few randomly generated puzzles that will require you to pay attention to upcoming obstacles and terrain inside the game. So we'll have to see how that plays out. And it would be interesting to see if, like, there were trans-dimensional bosses that you had to fight in two places at once. So you had to, like, open up their weak spot in one dimension, and then in the other dimension you could actually shoot it. All of those, like, two-point obstacles and all that fun stuff. And I guess that's what they're getting at when they show us this asteroid field, because the asteroid obstacles are different in each one of these terrains, so if you switch, you gotta make sure that your little pink indicator as to where you're going to be isn't currently embodying an asteroid. That said, it seems a little bit hairpin for as much space as we're given, but, it's supposed to be challenging. Bullet hell shooty games are always supposed to be like that. Very unforgiving, very horrifying and murdery. So, whatever. Whatever it takes, man. I don't ask questions, because questions lead to answers, and answers are horrifying sometimes. The other thing that I would really look into is, like, being able to really customize your spaceship would be really nice to have. Like, being able to vary the types of lasers, maybe you can get some missiles in there, or something. That would all be a lot of stuff I'd be looking for. Being able to, like, customize the shot types, maybe you have, like, a charge-up plasma cannon. All that stuff would be great. I don't know. That would be nice. I don't know how much customization they're offering you. Maybe you just pick, like, preset, like, gun types, like you're playing Gradius. The sky's the limit with that. So here we see an example of why you have to pay attention to both battlefields, because there is a roadblock in one dimension, but I can go over to the other screen. I don't have to worry about it. That's nice. I could definitely see a lot of stuff exactly like that going on. Let's mess with me just a little bit, so we'll have to see how much I like that. Some of these are a little bit more hairpin than I would prefer, because I'm not used to playing in two places at once, which is exactly what this is. It's like playing with yourself on a split screen, which is actually a little bit awkward, truthfully. But maybe like some more leeway in the durability of your ship would be nice, because I'm kind of having to pay attention to one side and the other at the same time, and there's not a lot of durability to the ship, so I'm kind of getting murdered right off the bat. But no, I like it. It's a cool concept. It's good to see that those guys didn't just let some scuzzy scammer who stole someone's credit card get in their way of continuing with their Kickstarter. They could make a sweet game. I mean, we don't want to hear people trolling each other on Kickstarter. Kickstarter's an annoying enough place to try and get anything done to begin with. So yay. So they've already reached their goal, 2 awesome studios, in the development of Dimension Drive. Jackie and her AI companion will be able to eventually battle and defeat the Ashajul's Empire. They're looking to go after, in the next few days, some of their stretch goals, like getting onto the PS4 for a platform, and also having a boss rush mode where it's just the bosses of the game that you can unlock after you've beaten the game. So far, it seems pretty good. I don't really have any qualms. It'd just be nice if we had some customization, some more crazy power-ups, maybe some loopy engines and alternate exteriors for your ships, and it'll be pretty cool. So I've been your host, Larry the Chupacabra. Thanks for joining me for a little first look at Dimension Drive up on Kickstarter, and I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Helps me out a whole bunch, and if you got a cool game for me to check out or a cool Kickstarter coming up, drop me a line, either through a comment or a message, or there's an email in my About section that I'd prefer you to use. But if you just want to say hi, I got a Twitter too. That's probably the best way to do it. So, till next time, have a good one, everybody, and toodaloo.